liberty lovers, and welcome to the Liberty Mike podcast, broadcasting from an undisclosed location in the heart of Dixie. I am Michael, and I'm here with Liberty Larry.
How's it going?
I'm doing all right. How are you? You okay over there?
Man, I am surviving. That's about the best I can say.
Okay. You being all spastic before we started recording, so I don't...
Yeah, I can't help it, man.
Yeah.
All those methamphetamines, they got me all jacked up.
Yeah, the ones you got to take so you can work your 20-hour shifts, 7 days a week.
I've worked enough of those this week, I tell you, man. I need some methamphetamines, I tell you.
Well, I'm pretty sure where you work, you could pick some up.
It would not be difficult. It would not be difficult. So did you watch the big game?
The Super Bowl is what you're talking about?
That would be the game.
Okay.
Any other big game this week?
Okay. No, I didn't. Who won?
The Eagles won.
Okay.
Who did
they play against?
The Chiefs.
Okay. Which
I would have loved to have watched, but I was in the middle of one of my 20-hour shifts during the game, so I did not get to watch.
I wasn't aware of it until afterwards.
Really?
And even if I had been aware of it, I still wouldn't have watched it.
Wouldn't have watched it? I definitely would have watched it. I mean, I enjoy football, but I'm not a Chiefs. I don't like the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes got sacked 6 times. Everybody keeps telling me, well, you didn't miss much with the game. You didn't miss much with the game. It was kind of a blowout the whole way through. It's like, good. I would have enjoyed that. I don't like the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes got sacked 6 times. I would have loved every minute of that.
Yeah. I bet you can get just like a YouTube clips of the sacks.
I might watch that, actually. That's what everybody else was saying. Oh, did you record it? You're going to go? I'm not going to watch it after it happened. I can't watch football. I'll watch highlights, but I'm not going to go watch a game post.
Yeah,
it's just not the same.
When I still watched football, the end of me watching football was the couple of years that I had a DVR.
Yeah.
And I learned that you can watch an entire game in 20 minutes without missing a second of action. And then, once I didn't have a DVR anymore, I was like, yeah, I don't have the patience for this at all.
Yeah.
I can't do it. But if you have a DVR, you can watch at the end of each play, when the play ends, if you hit advance 30,
yeah,
you will get there just in time for them to be standing up at the line and about ready to snap the ball. And then you can watch them run the play, which takes 4 to 6 seconds.
Yeah.
And then hit advance 30 again.
And do it again.
And it'll be right at the beginning of the next play. Yeah. So you can do that. If you just wait until the game's over, you don't even have to wait until the game's over, but it's got to be
started. Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Past halftime, probably.
No more than 20 minutes before the end. Otherwise, you end up getting stuck because, I said, you can watch this whole game that takes 3 hours. But then you get
to watch the end
in 20 minutes.
If it lines up right, though.
Oh, yeah.
You could actually watch the last 3 or 4 minutes correct, and it'd be suspenseful if it's a good game.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, but you can do that with the DVR anyway. If they're running hurry up and they're just play after play after play, you don't have to hit advance 30.
Yeah.
It's really easy.
There's that.
But these days, there's so many ways to stop the clock towards the end of the game anyway that you still have all that time.
The last 3 minutes of every game is just forever.
Yeah, a lot of hurry up and wait.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's I realized how much more watching football is after I had the DVR.
It is crazy. I used to love watching baseball, but baseball's the same way. That's like an all-day event to watch a baseball game.
Yeah.
you know. They have done some things recently to try to fix that. I don't really follow baseball anymore, so it's the extra innings is different now. I think they start
put
with
somebody
people on
base, second base or something like that.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to adjust to the TikTok generation.
Well, there's that, and like I said, I think the other thing, they've got a pitch clock now. I think they instituted that maybe last season. I don't know. I don't follow baseball that close, so I could be, for the baseball fans out there, I'm sorry if I'm getting this wrong.
It doesn't matter.
You don't think so?
No, it's not relevant to our podcast really at all.
Yeah. Well, at any rate.
No, I if I had known about it, I still wouldn't have watched it. I just don't care. Although my family up north is probably really excited if the Eagles won.
Eagles won. Eagles had a lot of Alabama players. I was pulling for the Eagles, like I say. That was the Eagles is one of the teams I like. I like teams based off of the players they have.
Yeah.
Like I'm not one of those I'm a Saints fan, but I'm not like a diehard Saints fan.
Yeah.
You know.
I guess I'm not really anymore.
But like I say, I
just
root
don't
for
follow
teams that have players that I've followed for a long time and that I like. And I
Yeah.
think that are good guys and
I mean, I always hope the Saints will win. I don't keep up with it at all.
at all. Yeah, all right.
At all.
Well,
There's
this Super Bowl was in New Orleans.
yeah. Well, I knew that.
You did know that? Okay.
Yeah, I knew. Well, I guess I didn't know that before the game. I knew it once I found
You-
out about the game.
Once you had heard about it,
Yeah. Superdome's a great venue, man.
It
For
is.
anything,
Oh, I'd imagine.
really.
Yeah.
Except for storing people after Katrina, apparently.
Yeah. Well, that one event, there was that one event that didn't go great.
Yeah.
One more thing about the Super
We
Bowl.
can joke about that now, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I
it's
hope,
been
I
long
hope
enough?
so. Yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely been a while. But yeah, they booed Taylor Swift. Which my daughter I was joking with her about. I was like, I heard Taylor Swift got a big reception at the Super Bowl, messing with her and whatever. And she was like, she sold out that stadium. I don't understand how they were booing her. And I was like, different crowd.
Yeah.
It was a different crowd. So,
That's funny.
yeah.
All right. Well, I hope you guys don't hear that. I don't know what my neighbors are doing.
Oh, I was going to say, did you hear that? Because the last time I was hearing noises, you weren't.
No, this.
And I heard that.
My neighbors have been making noise all day. They're doing something in their backyard. I have no idea what.
That was like moving something heavy.
Yeah, dragging steel across
I
concrete.
mean, that's what it sounded like. Yeah.
Well, that kind of thing has been going on for.
All right.
Let's see, what time is it? A couple of hours, I would
It's
say.
dark
So,
out there now, so
I know,
I'm just saying, wrap it up.
Yeah, man. Wrap it up, B.
Wrap it up.
So hopefully the mics aren't picking up all that noise, though.
Yeah, maybe not.
There were a couple of things that I kind of wanted to talk about last podcast and didn't.
Right.
We did run an hour and 20 minutes or something like that on the last podcast, so
Still didn't hit everything.
still didn't hit everything. And it had only been a week.
There's a lot going on in the world, man.
So I thought we could start maybe with USAID
Oh, yeah.
a little bit. And that could maybe lead us into something that you said that you wanted to talk about too. So
is it USAID or is it USAID?
it's the U.S. Agency for International Development. So I would say it was USAID.
Okay. Cool.
USAID makes it sound like they're actually being helpful.
And so am I to assume that they're not being helpful?
Not generally.
Okay.
I mean, everything that they do is okay. Their charter is to further U.S. foreign policy goals.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we've talked about this before.
Well, we've talked about USAID plenty of times because they're always getting into trouble.
Yeah.
They're not as bad as, excuse me, I'm having a hard time keeping my throat clear. They're not as bad as the National Endowment for Democracy.
Okay. Maybe that's the one I'm thinking
We've
of.
spent a ton of time on the
Because
NED.
I knew there was one that we had talked about a ton. That must be that one.
Yeah, we've talked about the NED a bunch because
Okay.
they're really awful. But USAID isn't that far behind.
Okay.
I'm going to take a sip of water. Hang on.
All right. Oh, man, I can still hear them moving stuff out there. Like, your cat tower shook that time.
There's not even a cat on it.
Well, yeah, it shook with no cat.
Cats don't like that one either. Oh, well. Okay, so, man.
You're having a
Really,
hard time.
yeah, I'm struggling here. You might have to talk more on this
Oh,
podcast.
that ain't good.
So there, all right, just as an example, or just a thought experiment, we'll say. There's a bunch of officials that are just raising Cain about how Musk and his group can't have access to confidential USAID documentation because it would be a threat to national security.
National security. So an aid agency that seems a little strange.
Yeah, doesn't it? And the reason is because really USAID is an arm of the intel services. in the U.S. So, your taxes are funneled through USAID into non-governmental agencies so that they can do things that the U.S. government is prohibited from doing. That's the purpose of USAID.
Okay.
I mean, in reality.
In reality, yeah.
Yeah. And so they use your tax money to, like I said, funnel funds into non-governmental agencies or other countries' governmental agencies that to further U.S. foreign policy goals, including regime changes and so forth. I think we talked about this on the podcast when Venezuela was going through the U.S. attempted coup that was going on when we started this podcast.
Yeah.
They kept turning away USAID trucks at their border.
Oh, I remember that. I forgot about that.
Yeah. And that's why, is because USAID was credibly accused of bringing in support for the coup.
Yes.
Not medical aid and stuff like this, but...
Well, I mean, they were bringing that in too, but they were using that to smuggle in. I had completely forgotten about that.
So that's a really common story with USAID. That's what their real purpose is to help the U.S. gain control of areas. So even when they're providing money for irrigation projects in some place, it's so that the U.S. government can control the water supply or, that kind of thing.
That type of, yeah.
I mean, there might be like legitimate aid things going on, but I doubt it.
Well, I'm sure there is. I mean, that's how you play the game, is like you're doing a lot of good stuff, but at the same time you're using that as a cover for your underhanded stuff.
And that's what I mean is I don't think that there's I think it's unlikely that there's any aid that they're providing of any kind that doesn't have an ulterior motive.
Yeah. No, that I believe. Absolutely.
So that's the real problem with USAID. And like one of the big things, and I if you want a whole lot of specifics about what all they're funding, there's plenty of places to go for that. And I'm not really going to do that here, but I will mention one that has had a real impact on us over the last 5 years. And that is, it was USAID that was providing funding to the EcoHealth Alliance.
Really?
Which the EcoHealth Alliance, you may remember, was giving funding to the Wuhan virology lab.
Yes, yeah.
For presumably, actually, I think there's fair evidence at this point that they were giving money to the Wuhan virology lab for gain-of-function research.
Yeah.
So we
all know how that went.
Yeah, and once again, this is just another one of these things where your tax money was used to create a virus that kept us all locked down and caused you to lose your job and purchasing power of the dollar.
Yeah.
Thanks, government.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And the truth is that even if they were, so there's all these complaints about, and we'll come back to USAID specifically, but there's all these complaints about using the Doge team shutting down a bunch of aid to various things, all kinds of charities and so forth that government money is going towards.
Yeah.
None of that's a charity, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if you can't opt out of paying, it's not a charity.
It's not a charity. Yeah, I know. I agree with you on that.
You're not being charitable if you're stealing money from somebody else to give to even a good cause.
So they're supposed to be putting control of this back into the State Department?
Well, that's the other thing is that they're So Rubio was talking.
So that's what I was going. So where I was leading with that is because my understanding was that they were turning control over this back over to the State Department. And I'm pretty sure I heard Rubio in an interview the other day saying that a lot of the legitimate charity that they were doing, they've already started doing again.
Yeah.
That he has authorized them to continue to do.
Well, that may or may not be true. What I heard him saying was that it wasn't going to go towards all these like frivolous things that don't have goals in making or advancing the interests of the United States.
Yeah.
So yes, this stuff isn't going to go away. All the worst things that USAID is doing, they're going to continue doing. And in fact, it seems to me likely that once they fold it under the State Department, if there are good things that they're doing, those are the things that are going to get cut. And it's the bad things that they're doing that'll continue.
When I heard him say that, what I thought in my head was, I was like, okay, so instead of whatever the powers that be that's been controlling this agency are, it's going to be the State Department now. And so now it's going to be just whatever the State Department feels like we need to go and have influence on, that's where we're going to head. Yeah. And so now Rubio has control over this power and not whoever had it before.
Yeah, I mean, but it doesn't substantively change what it was doing.
Well, no,
anyway.
it just kind of pulls it under a different umbrella, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. That's the best I can come up with.
No, I think that's right. If now it may improve efficiency in some way because it's not like another layer of bureaucracy.
That is Doge's
I mean,
stated mission.
I feel like if that's the case, then you are at least removing a layer of bureaucracy involved.
Yeah.
Maybe that means that you can hold the State Department accountable for what it does instead of like essentially no one.
Yeah. So was it USAID that was paying the different news organizations?
Yes. That was part of what they were doing. They paid for international news something or other. I can't remember.
Politico was one of them because Politico had trouble making their payroll after they didn't get a payment.
Yeah. I mean, but there was something like 5,000 news agencies that they had paid over a period of just a single year, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't remember the numbers, but it was something like that. Mm-hmm. I did hear about the Politico one because that they, like I say, they struggled to make their payroll when the check didn't come.
Yeah, and this is another one of those ridiculous complaints that opposition has to all these moves is that, you're taking away funding from independent news organizations.
They're not independent if they're getting government money.
Exactly.
Like they're being paid.
Exactly. You can't be an independent news organization if you're getting paid by a government.
We're independent news.
Exactly. Nobody's paying
us.
We'll have to fix that at some point. I don't want government money, but...
want money from somewhere, though, right?
Yeah, that would help. I got subscriptions to pay to do this properly.
All right.
So, yeah, I think that the real problem that we have, like people like us have with USAID, all that stuff will just continue. It'll just be under the State Department now.
Yeah.
Instead of a separate agency. Now that might get it away from the intel agencies a little bit, but not the way our government works currently, I don't think.
No. Well, I mean, that would take some major restructuring. But I will say Trump has not shied away from the idea of restructuring everything.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
I mean, anything's possible. I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm just saying a lot of restructuring going on.
Well, the interesting thing about USAID in particular to me is that a whole bunch of Democrats went to the USAID offices and protested.
I know.
I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, so what they are protesting essentially is that they're protesting the elected government's legitimacy to control the agency that's under their purview and to oversee the spending of our money by that agency.
It's wild. The Democrats have been forced into this corner where they are having to defend corruption.
Yeah,
like, that's all they can do. Like they're backed into this corner, and it's just wild to watch it unfold. I guess that kind of leads into the thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is that just where the Democrats are at right now is just wild because they're forced into this position where they've got to be against Trump no matter what. Like they can't let him have a win anywhere, and so all of the stuff that they lost the election on, they're just like standing by. And and that's the thing I kind of wanted to get to is everybody is like, well, the Democrats are never going to win an election again. This is just, they're never going to dig themselves out of this hole. And I'm old enough to remember when we were saying that about Republicans during the Obama years. That's all you heard is the demographics are against the Republicans and they're never going to win again.
Weren't we hearing that in 2020?
We've heard that for a long time. Yeah, I mean, that's still out there, but I remember it specifically during the Obama years. They used to call it like the Browning of America or something.
Yeah.
And what happened was Donald Trump stepped in and picked up the Republican Party and took it where he wanted to go because it was in such shambles. It was easy to do. And I would just kind of tell everybody to keep your eye open because I do think that somebody in the Democrat Party is going to do exactly that to the Democrats. It's so open right now for somebody to just kind of come, pick it up, and take it where they want to go. And the hope would be that it would be a good, principled Democrat. And it can't be any of these people that we talk about, like, what's the guy from California?
Oh, Gavin Newsom?
Newsom or any of those.
I was thinking it was going to be the skinny guy from Texas that they touted to take Ted Cruz's slot, but I can't even remember his name anymore.
I can't remember his name either. I just picture him with these lanky little arms talking about taking people's guns.
Beto O'Rourke.
Beto.
Beto O'Rourke. Yeah, that's it. That's going to be the guy.
It won't be any of them because the problem is...
David Hogg.
David Hogg. So he's their new vice chair. And that's the reason everybody's like, well, the Democrats are never going to win. Because these are the people that are predominant in the party right now. Yeah. And it's not going to be any of them. It's going to be somebody who's not dirty with all of this, these I'm trying to think of the right word, but just these ideas that are going nowhere.
These policies that they've been promoting that people are unhappy with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it'll have to be somebody, and it will be a Democrat who is, I think of somebody like Tulsi, like RFK.
Well, but they're tainted by the Trump.
Well, they are, but just think about it this way though. If after 4 years of Trump,
all the Democrats were voting against RFKJ and Tulsi
in Congress. Yeah. But we're not talking about Congress. Trump didn't win because the people in Congress supported him. Yeah. I mean, Trump won because the people were like, this is our guy, and we're not going to... And it's going to take somebody like that in the Democrat Party to pick it up and take it. And just have such majorities that they can't stop him. And it's a lot more difficult in the Democrat Party because the power brokers have a lot more power.
Yeah.
But I think it can be done. I mean, I think if the right Democrat does it, but... And our hope would be is that it would be one that's, anti-war, anti-surveillance state. Like these are democratic principles that have just been lost. Yeah. And it'll take somebody coming in and doing that. I think I don't actually think it would be RFK or Tulsi, but it would be interesting. Like you just kind of run the mind experiment of if one of them ran in the next primary, who's going to stop them? I mean, you're going to have Beto O'Rourke or one of them. Like, it's not going to happen.
It'll be whoever the Democrats decide.
They'll win by too much. They'll be too.
I don't think that they would.
You may be right.
That is a party that is apparently very easy to control and manipulate.
Well, it is. It's the way it's structured, which is the reason that RFK dropped out, is because he was like, this party is too corrupt for me to, like, I'm not getting a fair shake here. So, I mean, there is that aspect to it, but I just feel like they don't have anybody else. Their bench is so empty.
Well, and then Tulsi's issue was that Hillary Clinton called her a traitor on national television.
Yeah. So
while she was in the Democratic primary.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know. It's just interesting to me. I do feel like it's worth keeping an eye on somebody to kind of just pick that party up and do what Trump did to the Republicans. But you may be right that it's just too controlled from the top for something like that to happen. But if that's the case, then everybody's right about them never winning an election again because their policies are so unpopular right now.
Yeah. Well, so now both Tulsi and RFKJ have been confirmed.
They're both in.
Which is a surprise.
I was shocked when I got the one we had
so
already
really
heard
the
Tulsi
only-
yesterday,
Yeah.
and then I got the notification about RFK. It's like, man, we got both.
Yeah. So I guess the only appointment that the Dems were actually able to stop was the AG Matt Gaetz.
Yeah, which is
I mean, I suppose it's not over yet, but
yeah, but I mean,
there's nobody else that's really
There's no
Patel.
I thought he had already been in. Is he?
I don't know.
I don't want to say one way or the other because I don't
Yeah,
know.
me either.
I don't want to be wrong.
I got all the information and history of the world right here in my fingertips.
Right at the palm of your
Let me
hand.
check.
But it is amazing that both of them got in and that as many has gotten in as they have. And the deal with Gates, I mean, he was kind of out before he was even up for really there anyway. So.
Okay, no, he's cleared the panel, but he hasn't had his confirmation vote yet. So Cash Patel hasn't been passed by the whole Senate yet.
Gotcha.
All right.
Well, I mean, the fact that they've gotten everybody else through, I don't see any reason.
Yeah, I don't see how he could be
if Tulsi
harder
made it
to get through than Tulsi,
yeah, exactly,
or RFKJ.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole lot of people in the Senate that have a lot of pharma money that was betting against.
Oh yeah.
RFKJ. So
I tell you, with RFK, I am shocked that he got through just because of that, just because of the amount of pharma money, and it was on display. I mean,
and ag money too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, farm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's the U.S. government is giving away a lot of our money, and I would love to see him step in there and put an end to that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that he's going to mess with farm subsidies too much.
No, I mean, I don't think that's where his focus is going to be.
Which it's a shame though. that would significantly improve our lives in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It would lower food costs.
Right.
That's for sure.
Lower the price of eggs, that'd be nice.
Yeah, well.
I don't eat a lot of eggs personally, but man, like it's outrageous how expensive they've gotten.
I have not seen one shred of evidence that you can get bird flu from an egg.
I don't think you can. Well, as long so this is what I heard. As long as
they're just killing off all the birds that lay eggs.
They are, yeah. I mean that's what they're doing. That's the reason the price of eggs is so high.
Mm-hmm. But
if you can,
I
even
swear
get them.
I've heard news people talking about.
Oh yeah, well they say that, dude. On the propaganda networks, they're gonna say that. But yeah, there's no evidence to support. At least
or
that
from
I've
drinking
seen.
milk, the unpasteurized milk like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could get a virus from a fragment of a virus that's passed through something's system, and then it's just it doesn't make sense biologically.
Yeah.
Well, I'm totally confused.
Propaganda tends to not make sense.
And they're still talking about another pandemic or epidemic of the bird flu when there's not one single case of human-to-human transmission.
Well, and here's what gets me is, so you're right about that. They're also, everything I've heard is that the people that have contracted it are mild symptoms.
Well, there was somebody who died in Louisiana.
Was there? Okay.
Yeah, just recently.
The report I heard yesterday or
I mean,
today,
I don't know what other problems that person might have had, though.
Well, you don't. Like I say, but I did hear that I guess 2 other people had got it. I don't remember where, like recently, like within the last week or so. And like the symptoms were mild, but they were monitoring it and this, that, and the other.
And they've all been playing with dead birds.
Yeah, well, they all were exposed.
Like,
they were exposed in a way that allowed them to catch it.
Yeah.
But
don't play with dead birds.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Seems like a real simple rule to follow. You don't even have to wash your hands. Just don't play with dead birds.
Yeah, right. Make sure I stick to that one.
Yeah. You should probably wash your hands anyway.
Well, I will, but like I say, still though, dead birds, stay away. Yeah. Use the dustpan.
Exactly.
That's what I try to do.
Or just like a long stick.
Long stick. Yeah. Kick it out to the road.
Yeah.
Can I use my hockey stick?
I don't see why not.
All right.
Just don't hit it too hard. You don't want it to explode.
Oh, okay. I don't want to breathe in the feathers. Okay.
Yeah.
No. So, what is wild is, so the flu going around right now. Well, there's flu and RSV going around right now.
This is a thing that I just don't
The
understand.
RSV thing I know is a pet peeve of yours. I shuddered to even mention it because of our last conversation about it.
I got things to say. Go on.
But
we got time to fill.
Yeah, particularly the flu though is freaking vicious right now. I mean, I had 2 employees in the hospital, one from the flu, and not an old person either. Like she's like in her 30s, like in the hospital from the flu. Her whole family's got it. They're all like dying. Like and the reason I've worked so many hours this past week and I'm all like methed up right now is because, everybody's sick. Like it's going around. It's not just me. The other businesses in the area are all feeling the same thing. It's just rough right now. But it got me thinking about like
Nobody's sick in my office.
Really? Well, maybe y'all are. Everybody knows working with the public. Let's put it that way.
Okay. We're pretty insular.
Yeah, right. I am surprised y'all aren't touched by it though, because it's pretty vicious right now in this area. And I was thinking the other day, like it's worse now than any time I can think of during COVID, as far as like just everybody being sick, and not just everybody being sick, because there's like being sick and I'm not going to go to work so I don't want to spread it. And then there's being sick so much that you're having to go to the hospital and you think you're going to die.
Yeah.
Like, and that seems to be the flu right now. So, but we're not shutting government down and doing the whole thing.
Well, you can't shut down for the flu because the flu's existed forever. Like you can con people into locking themselves in their homes for a novel virus. You can't con people to lock themselves in their homes because of it's flu season.
Well, you know, you are right. That is the difference. I mean, I think you nailed it right there. The idea that it's all about scaring people. And the flu has been around forever. We've all had it.
Yeah.
Even if it's it is a rough flu season. I mean, like I say, it's the worst I can remember here. Talking to my wife, I think she said that we hadn't had a bad season in really since COVID.
Yeah.
So, and my wife's a nurse, by the way, so like she does have a little standing. And that's the reason this one is this is the first rough season we've had in a long time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I don't understand the RSV thing. RSV has been around for a long time, and I have never heard of it being anything more than a nuisance to anyone other than very, very young children and very, very old people.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so people in the prime of their life getting RSV and noticing it even just seems insane to me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to lay blame any one place. Maybe we just need RFKJ in there to make us healthy again, period.
So
but
I've mentioned that more times this week than just because I'm like, man, like this country is just sick.
Yeah.
We're just a sick people.
Yeah.
And I don't know what RFK can do, if anything, but something does need to happen. Something needs to change.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that it will very much. I think that he'll just be stonewalled all the way around.
Oh, he will be. I mean, like I said, I'm hopeful that he can do some positive things, but you're not wrong about the stonewalling. Like that's going to be a constant.
Yeah. But he's there. We'll see. I mean, something has to happen.
Yeah.
Like they can't stop everything that he does for 4 years.
Exactly.
So.
And some of the stuff, I don't know if we ever played those clips on the show of the stuff he was talking about doing. I guess it was after he was nominated, that some speech he made. But like he does have a plan. Like the guy is very intelligent and knows. Like I wish we may need to pull those up at some point because like he laid out a bunch of stuff he wanted to do.
It's much as I like him, it's hard to play clips of him.
I know. You get used. The more you listen to him, though, you get used to it.
Well, also, I know the clips you're talking about, and he's so detailed that it takes a long. It takes
a long time to suss out
what he's saying. It's like 4 minutes of clips to make 3 or 4 points.
Yeah. You got to edit that stuff, man.
Well, I mean, but it's hard.
I know.
It's really hard to get the substance of because the things that he's talking about aren't soundbite plans.
Yeah. Well, that's the reason I can't just sit here and kind of sum it up for you. Yeah. Like there's a lot, and each thing kind of leads to the next thing.
Which is all interrelated. And
Yeah.
But
But the guy has a plan.
yeah,
Um,
I'm interested to see how he executes. One of our other new people, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth,
yeah.
he went and spoke to the subgroup of NATO about Ukraine.
Okay.
I forget what it's called. It's like a 6-letter acronym.
It's got an acronym.
So
yeah.
it's,
Everybody's got an acronym.
whatever. But it's NATO's working group on the Ukraine conflict or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's had some very interesting things to say. So I want to play a clip from him, and then I'll talk about the other stuff because I didn't put it all into the clip because again,
Yeah.
time issues. But I do want to draw attention to what he was talking about because this is a major shift in U.S. policy with regard to Ukraine. Finally, and we may actually see an end to this conflict. I'm not going to hold my breath.
Yeah. It has to end at some point, though.
Well, that's true, but this is a lot of the things that he says when he's talking to them are a step in the right direction. And as much as I don't like the bully power of the United States, they can bully around. We can bully around NATO,
yeah. Oh, without question. Bully
and
around
so
whoever we want.
well, we try. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I got some Rubio clips we can play later, potentially related to that.
All right.
But anyway, this is very this makes me optimistic.
Okay. I'm excited to hear this.
So, all right, let me play this.
All right.
A durable peace for Ukraine must include robust security guarantees to ensure that the war will not begin again. This must not be Minsk 3.0. That said, the United States does not believe that NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement. Instead, any security guarantee must be backed by capable European and non-European troops. If these troops are deployed as peacekeepers to Ukraine at any point, they should be deployed as part of a non-NATO mission, and they should not be covered under Article 5.
So it's amazing what competent leadership can lead to.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. How long have we been saying this?
I mean, nothing has happened yet.
No, but just the idea of having somebody out there saying exactly what he just said makes such a big difference.
Yeah. He said more, but I thought that was the highlight clip because there's two really important bits in there. One is that Ukraine will not become a member of NATO.
Yeah.
And two is that the security guarantee, the troops that would potentially be deployed to ensure the security of Ukraine as part of a negotiated settlement would not be considered a NATO mission, do not qualify for Article 5 protections. So if they do end up having to fight the Russians, it doesn't trigger the Article 5 bringing the rest of NATO into the conflict.
Yeah.
And he says, notice he says competent European and non-European troops there.
Yeah.
But soon afterwards, he says U.S. troops will not be deployed for this.
Good. I mean, that's...
Some other points that he made there is that that the idea of restoring Ukraine's pre-2014 borders was a non-starter.
Yeah.
They weren't going to get all that territory back, period.
Yeah.
Give up
Right.
on that idea. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, and I know that there's going to be people out there screaming like, he's just bowing to all of Putin's demands. This whole thing could have been avoided, first off. But even like leaving that aside, you could have negotiated a better settlement in 2022, right after it started, just a couple of months in.
Yep.
You could have negotiated a better settlement at the end of 2022 when Ukraine had that push and recaptured some territory, had it actually a kind of strategically well executed plan to as a feint and then capturing other territory. And actually the feint kind of worked too.
Yeah.
They were in the best position then that they'd been in through the entire war.
Yeah.
And oh gosh, was it Milley that got out there and said, now's the time to negotiate?
Really? Yeah.
And Blinken said, no way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, this is the other thing that I find really interesting about this as a contrast is that Pete Hegseth's the Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
And he's over there talking about negotiating points.
Yeah.
And Anthony Blinken was the Secretary of State, the chief diplomat of the United States for 4 years, and refused to talk to Lavrov.
Yeah. You can't, that's not how you negotiate.
Yeah. It's hard to negotiate when you don't talk to the guy.
Exactly. Which we were screaming about throughout the podcast. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that was from beginning to end with this. That's been, I think, our biggest complaint. At least mine is that they're not even speaking to one another.
Yeah. I'm still considering putting the evidence together to make the case that Anthony Blinken's the worst Secretary of State in U.S. history.
Yeah.
I really believe I can make a strong case for that.
Yeah.
So anyway, like it may be accepting some of the requirements of Russia, but this isn't ending any other way. And even the media has given
the
up
upper hand.
Yeah, even the media has given up on the idea that Ukraine can win this.
Oh yeah. Well, that's
It took a long time to get there. I mean, we've been saying it for 2 years, but
yeah.
you know, but they're here now. Finally, they've come to realize that it's Ukraine. Do you remember when, like, it wasn't long after the war began, when President Biden got up and said, Russia is already lost?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
And we're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, because
there's no way they can lose.
Yeah. Well,
in this conflict, I mean,
what we had, because I think the retort I had at the time was, well, he is the only way he's right is if we get directly involved.
Yeah.
Because I want to say at the time I was like, is that what he's insinuating? Because that's the only way they lose.
Yeah. Well, so there's the hopeful foreign policy. I should have done that second, shouldn't I?
Oh, yeah. I got to close out on the good stuff, man.
Oh, well. So, yeah, there's the hopeful foreign policy. This is the most important conflict, though, the Ukraine-Russia conflict.
Yeah.
That's the most dangerous for the whole world.
Agreed.
So if I could only choose one conflict to bring a peaceable end to, that would be it.
Yeah.
That said, Trump this last week, and look, everybody, I know that that people were almost immediately walking back Trump's "we're going to own Gaza" thing, but he hadn't said it just once.
No, he's doubled down on it from what I can tell.
Yeah. But leaving that aside, the other thing that he said I guess it was earlier this week. He said that if Hamas didn't release all the remaining hostages by Saturday, essentially it was open season.
Yeah.
And that, we're not satisfied with these drips and drabs, or however he said it, something like that, about this hostage release. But Trump, that was part of the deal that you claimed credit for.
Right? Like, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I mean, that's kind of how this was structured, wasn't it?
Yes, that's part of the structure of the deal.
Well, because the idea is once they're all freed from both sides, there's no longer leverage to keep the peace.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's how these things are done. Now, I don't like it. Like, I think let everybody go and stay peaceful. But, I mean, the real world that's not how it works.
Yeah. And this is if he follows up on this, if he actually just like releases Netanyahu to do whatever he wants to continue the war in Gaza on Saturday, if all the hostages aren't released, then it just completely destroys any credibility that the United States has in negotiations anywhere.
Yeah.
Could cause problems with the Ukraine-Russia thing.
Very well could.
Like, you made a deal, you were proud of your deal, and then you reneged on the deal.
Yeah. So, Mr. Deal Maker.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully it's just bluster from him, trying to, I don't know what I can't even figure out what he'd be trying to accomplish with that.
Yeah.
but it was a ridiculous statement to make. You made a deal, and now you're not satisfied with the terms of the deal that you made, apparently.
Yeah.
And you can't go back on the deal just because you've decided that you could have negotiated better terms. Like, you already made an agreement.
Yeah.
And like, stick to the agreement.
Yeah.
And if you don't stick to the agreement, it really is a problem for U.S. foreign policy in our dealings with everybody.
Yeah. And I mean, the man has 4 more years in office. Like, he needs his word needs to mean something to these other countries when we strike an agreement.
Exactly.
Because he's wanting to strike a lot of agreements.
Yeah. U.S. foreign policy already has a credibility issue. And at least people could look at Trump as an outsider, like, not somebody who's contributed to that bad reputation over all these years, like Biden.
Exactly.
But Trump's word has to mean something.
Yeah, exactly. So.
And we're really early here.
Yeah, right.
So we'll see what happens. Like, please, man, don't do this. He shouldn't have even said it.
Yeah. I'll call him this weekend and have a chat with him.
Okay.
See if I can,
please do that.
See if I can get him
Somebody
on the right,
needs to.
get him on the right page here.
You need to call him tomorrow because Saturday's the day after.
Right.
And
Oh, no,
Israel's
it's
ahead of us.
Valentine's Day, man. I don't know if I can call the man on Valentine's Day.
Israel's 8-10 hours ahead of us, something?
Something like that, yeah.
So, yeah, you need to get on that right
So
away.
I need to get on that.
Like, first thing in the morning.
All right. First thing.
Actually, by the time we finish this podcast, it'll be first thing in the morning in Israel.
Yeah.
And Trump will probably still be up.
Yeah. I'm sure, right?
Yeah. So as soon as we're done here,
Get on the phone.
we need to wrap it up so Gary can make his call.
Yeah.
I mean, that's most of what I have. We can play the Rubio stuff too.
I was going to say, do we have anything else?
Actually, I got something else that I mean, it's kind of evergreen. I can talk about it any time, but I wanted to talk about it last week, and I want to talk about it this week, and I hate to put it off for another week.
Let's do it.
We can talk about, I mean, this is, what I have is Rubio's opening remarks to the Senate Foreign Policy or Foreign Relations Committee or whatever.
Yeah.
That's from a couple of weeks ago too, and I'm pretty sure what he says there, that's going to be evergreen also.
Yeah.
Worth addressing at a later date, especially if we end up like reneging on this deal this weekend.
Yeah. I'm going to see to it that we don't.
It'll be more relevant, I think. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about some economic stuff because I do get tired of people complaining about corporations always trying to screw their customers over, and it's corporations, they're trying to take advantage of their customers. They're charging too much for their products, and they're they're cheating their customers all the time. And go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I had somebody come through this weekend complaining about the prices, which I'm used to. I'm complaining about them too. They suck. It's part of it.
Yeah.
But this person was really excited about Trump being in there, and that the prices that he was upset that he hasn't already brought the prices down. And I had to tell her, it was a lady. I was like, I'm all for Trump as much as the next guy, but he's not bringing the prices down. I was like, I told the lady, I was like, when in your life do you remember prices going down? Prices have never went down. Like that's not something that happens. Like, the best we can hope for is for wages to go up.
Yeah.
Like that was,
or that they actually stick to that 2% and it only goes up 2%.
Yeah. I mean, what we want is for wage. I mean, I want the prices to come down too. Don't get me wrong, but like the hope is that the
price of labor goes up too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So.
Well, maybe him getting rid of all the pennies will take enough money out of circulation to
the pennies. So you realize taking the penny out will create more inflation. Like prices will, because the businesses aren't going to round down; they're going to round up from the penny.
Yeah.
So,
but it'll take some money out of the economy, some currency out of the economy.
Yeah. You know how many pennies have been minted this year alone?
No idea.
240 million.
Wow.
It's February.
At 2 cents a penny.
Well, Trump said 2 cents, but everything I see says 4.
Really?
Yeah, everything I've seen has said 4, but Trump said 2. So I mean, I don't know. He'd know better than me.
Wow, that's crazy. Like I keep pennies that are older than 1982 because they're 96% copper.
Yeah, you can melt those down. Yeah, I mean, you're not supposed to.
and
That's not financial advice.
No. I'm pretty sure that's illegal, actually.
It is, but if they there
If
is
they eliminate the penny, however.
well, that you will actually legally be able to do that if it's taken out of. But that's not what he's talking about doing. He's just talking about not minting anymore. He's not actually talking about doing away with it.
Okay.
It'll still be acceptable form of currency.
Okay. Well, good.
So you saved all your pennies for nothing so far.
Well, yeah. I don't know what they're worth. They used to be worth 3 cents, and that
Something
was
like
essentially the copper value.
Yeah, they're worth the copper melt. Yeah. So
Which is why, like, my old silver dollars are worth 20 whatever dollars now because it's an ounce of silver.
something like that. Well, they're not a full ounce.
They're 0.996
They're
or something like that.
Are they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're only 90%. So
Well, it
they're-
depends on
they're
how
worth-
old they are.
Well, it depends on what year. I
Yeah.
actually collect those anyway.
This isn't a numismatics podcast.
This
so
isn't. Yeah. We're not doing that.
No, not
So
today.
back to your economics.
Yeah, economics. So I heard this again earlier this week, and it really frustrated me because it was gamers.
Okay.
Like gamers complaining about how the game companies, they charge them too much. You know, no game's worth $70, and then I think what sparked the particular conversation is I forget what company. Some company has a Game Pass where you pay essentially a subscription and you get all the new games that company put. Well, not all probably, but a
majority.
selection of the new games that the company puts out. And it's, by all accounts, it's a really good deal.
I was going to say, it sounds like a good deal.
You would definitely spend far less than if you bought all those games. Of course, if you're not a person that just likes to play a broad range of games, then you probably just don't get the pass because it's not worth it to you. But here was the complaint: is that they are, you get the game, but you don't get it as early as everybody that buys the game independently.
Well, of course not. Why would they do that? Why would the company do that? It would make no sense.
And they're like, they're trying to get you to buy the game even though you're going to get the game so that you can get the game on the opening date instead of, a couple of weeks later or whatever.
That's just, why would...
And those terrible corporations
Oh my
just
God.
taking advantage of the thing. All right, so...
That's frustrating. That makes no sense at all for the company to do that. Like, the whole perk of buying the game is that you get it first. Like, that's... come on, guys.
So, and you know what? If you're that hard up for the thing that you would buy it even though you're going to get it as part of something you're already paying for a couple of weeks later, you've got no right to complain about this.
Right?
So, and that's kind of the point that I wanted to get to. Now, this is completely voluntary purchases. Like, you can't make the argument to me that you have to have any of this stuff. It's not like buying eggs.
Yeah.
All right. This is a game. It's like going to a movie. All right. You can do it or not.
I don't know. Some of these folks, it sounds like their mental health may suffer if they don't have this.
Well, that may be the case. There's another problem there, but
there is another problem there. Not denying that.
we're not addressing those problems. We're addressing the economics issues.
Okay.
So here's the bottom line is if you think that no corporation is trying to take advantage of its customers.
Yeah.
All right. It's completely dependent on its customers to survive.
Yeah.
So it needs to keep its customers happy,
As
or
long
at
as
least
it's-
customers interested enough to keep spending the money.
Yeah.
All right. So if you think that this is such a problem, don't buy it.
Yeah.
Don't buy the game. If you think the company is taking advantage of you with the price that they charge you for that object,
Yeah.
then don't pay for it. And if you're buying it, it says a couple of things. First off, it says that let's assume it's a $70 game.
Okay. God, $70 for a game does seem
I know
like
they
a
keep
lot.
going up, but it's because the dollar's worth less.
Well, I mean, that is what it is.
Yeah. So anyway, let's assume it's a $70 game, and you're complaining about the cost of the game. And if you think that the cost of the game is too high, you need to not buy the game. Like
Or wait
you
till
want,
it's on clearance.
yeah, you want the company to understand that they're asking too much. Don't purchase it. I
Yeah.
promise you, if enough people don't purchase it,
It'll be on sale.
it'll change. Like things will change.
Yeah.
They are dependent on your dollars. And so if you don't think that it's fair what they're charging, don't pay that cost.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the other thing. If you do buy the game,
Yeah.
no matter how much you complain about the price, you've proved a couple of things. You have proven, one, that game was worth more to you than that $70.
Yeah.
And two, that game was worth more to you than the $70 and anything else that you could have gotten with that $70.
Yeah. Which is a lot of things.
It's worth more to you than the $70. It's worth more to you than 4 movies or 5 movies at the theater. It's worth more to you than like anything else that you could have bought with that $70 that would fill the same kind of role.
Yeah.
You've proved that game was worth more to you than any of those things too.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And so why are you complaining? What are you complaining about?
Yeah.
If it's not worth it to you,
Yeah.
don't buy it. And if you do buy it, you've proved that it's worth it to you.
Yeah.
And you've proved to the company that they can charge that
Yeah. Or more.
or more.
Which they may.
They probably will in a couple of years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've watched AAA games, like the big games, and I don't game that much really. But in fact, very little when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
I probably buy one new game a year,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then I play it for like a month, and then I've had my fill.
Yeah. Right.
But I mean, I remember when the brand new AAA games were like $25.
Yeah.
And I've watched them go up to 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. And I
It's-
would never, and see, I think that that's too much. And so I don't buy them
Till they're on sale.
until they're on sale. Yeah, I watch for those Steam sales. If there's something that I'd really like to play, I do put it on my list, and then I get an actual email notification whenever
the
it's on
price
sale.
drops, yeah.
And the truth is that I never buy them unless they're at least 40% off.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, though. Like, I mean, that's...
I mean, I get a notification that's 25% off. I'm like, yep.
Nah, not
Not
yet. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. Of course, I don't feel like I have to have it on that day. And
Yeah.
that was another thing. Like somebody else asked the question actually, but it was my question too. It's like, who cares that much if you get it on the very first day or you get it a couple of weeks later?
Yeah.
And the answer was a lot of people.
Well, there is a lot of people. When I was big into gaming, which was a long time ago, console games, and I still enjoy console games, but I wouldn't really consider myself a gamer anymore, especially because it feels like it's gotten a lot more serious over the past decade being a gamer.
Yeah.
But when I was, like, I'd pre-order games. Not every game, but if there was something new coming out, I'd like to have it that day. But it wasn't like the world's gonna end if I don't like get this game into the console the first moment I can. Like,
Yeah.
even when I was big into all of that. So
Well, I say I buy like one game a year now, and that's roughly true. And the other thing that I think is interesting, like looking back over my life about my current state, is that that one game a year that I buy is almost always an indie game that's like $10 or $20 anyway.
yeah.
Like I just don't care about the great big games.
Yeah.
And part of it is that the kind of games that they make now aren't the kind of things that I'm really interested in. I'd rather play a game of chess than play, I don't know, one of these big role-playing game things that come out with the super graphics and all that. They're pretty,
Yeah.
but it's not my thing.
No.
I'm not willing to sink, 18 hours of my life into something like that. It's just not worth it.
Only 18 hours?
Yeah. I mean, but there was a free-to-play game that I picked up a couple of years ago, like, I don't know, 4 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. that I bet I have 1,000 hours in. I mean, but it's over that period of time. But even then, like 250 hours a year on average, that's like 6 weeks. But it was something that I could play with friends online, and you know, you get on and you're just like chatting with each other and playing. Like I don't know, it's different.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my take on it. You shouldn't be complaining. If you think it's too much, don't pay for it. And if you do pay for it, you're just proving that it wasn't too much, that it was worth more to you than the money and anything else that you could do with the money.
Yeah, that's fair.
And your actions speak louder than your complaints.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Seems like a good place to close it out.
Sure. We'll save Rubio for some other time. You guys have that to look forward to.
Yay!
All right. So what do we have going on? Nothing really,
Everything.
right?
I've got everything going on. But I will make this a priority for my time for next week.
Good. Okay. So then we'll be back next week. In the meantime, you can follow us on Facebook. You can subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, Podbean. Comment, subscribe, like, and share. Leave comments, reviews. You can always email me at michael@thelibertymike.com. Is that all the things? Tell your friends.
Yeah, that's an important one.
Yeah, always tell your friends.
Yep.
Clip that last little bit about if you're complaining about the summarized version of the economic stuff. So next time you hear somebody complain about how much they pay for something frivolous that they actually paid for, you can send that to them and say,
you made your decisions.
Yeah. All right. So we'll be back next week when we finally get this right. And in the meantime, try to stay free.
Life short, live free.
Ciao.
Later.